Hey everybody, it is cold. uh, Currently, and it is October 8th, and it's another day. Um, I love October, um, just for personal reasons. It's always been a season of, when the first cold comes in, right? Um, and things start to drop and you start thinking, or temperature starts to drop and you start thinking, hey, I can light a fire, or that kind of thing. That's always been a season of new beginnings for me, um, ever since I was a kid. So it's only fitting that this is part of that journey. So um, yeah, I'm coming up on what is the 8th, so in another about a week will be the day that October 15th will be the day that Brittany was sent home to die. So that's coming up. um, you know it's not the first of the firsts that I've encountered, but it is an important one. And I don't really know, the firsts haven't really been that much of an impact for me, but I don't know. I think that maybe this will. Um, I mean, they have. Let me don't get me wrong. They have impacted me, just not nearly as much as I expected them to. But anyway, I digress. I wanted to come on here, and I've got several, not several. Going forward in this vlog, I have a couple of things that I want to do. I have a format that I want to do these vlogs. The first thing that I'm going to do is talk about my current day. October the 9th or October the 8th. What's been happening this week? What's been going on in Darren's life? The second thing that I want to do in these vlogs, I want to talk a little bit about what I was experiencing directly after Brittany's passing, and I'll go chronologically forward. And then if there's any frequently asked questions that you guys are throwing down in the comments, I'll make sure to do those as well. So yeah, so what's been going on in my world? Like I said, it's October. The cold is always nice. It's a time of new beginnings for me. This was I'm not sure if it was Brittany's favorite season, but she did love pumpkins. We have plenty of photos of her holding pumpkins and, absolutely filled with joy with the concept of making pumpkin puree and pumpkin seeds and pumpkin pie and everything else. She loved herself pumpkin pie. Couldn't eat cake, didn't like cake at all. Would always make herself some pie, would always make herself pumpkin every year. And if she didn't get her pumpkin, then she was in a mood. So in current time, about a week ago, Brittany's mother, Claire, came by to see me and drop off some of Brittany's mail. It's one of the first times that she's been able to approach me and talk to me and just be there. And I'm really proud of her. I know she struggles a lot, and I've got, I love her to pieces. And Claire, I know you don't watch these, but if you ever do get to where you're kind of watching these and you see this point, and just know that it was really nice seeing you, and I really appreciated it, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for coming this far in your own personal journey. So I'm hoping that there'll be more. So there's that. Probably one of the more dramatic things. It's currently a Sunday, and church is starting in a couple hours. So, but my pastor, my pastor's wife specifically, announced to the church that they were doing, they were getting some biopsies, and they had a bunch of medical procedures coming up, and to be in prayer for them, and that kind of stuff, and quote unquote, of the options that they have, none of them are good. I don't know specifics. I don't know details. I don't know what exactly is happening, but I don't really need to. I know those words. You know those words. Everybody in church knew those words. It's just crazy. I mean, what? Cancer strikes one in every two people. So it's like, yeah, like if you don't have it, you know someone who does. You can't be a human on this earth and not be personally touched by cancer. So when she made this announcement, our associate pastor just called an impromptu prayer huddle. I don't really know what to call it. He did the same thing with me and Brittany. He basically just wrapped him up in a hug and prayed over my pastor and his wife. And before he did that, there's a friend of mine who she got married yesterday. And so it would literally be one of her last times at church. Our associate pastor thought it appropriate to wave her forward to kind of join up in this little impromptu huddle. And then he also waved me up. I knew why. And then he just prayed over them, and we all just hugged and cried and prayed, and it's just weird. Me and Brittany struggled for so long, and we were the odd people out, you know? It doesn't matter how much your friends love you, and it doesn't matter how normal you are with your friends. You are and always will be Darren and Brittany plus cancer. You won't be Darren and Brittany anymore. You'll be Darren and Brittany plus cancer. It affects everything. So I guess the only reason I'm saying that is I now have more of a reason to do these vlogs. I don't know. I see it. I definitely see it. There was a reason why I'm here, why I'm doing these. Anyway, so I wanted to kind of put the word out for those of you who are my praying types. We could use some prayer. They can use some prayer. I'd just be appreciative. And of course, where would we be without a daily dose of the Milo show? He's looking at me. Mournful eyes, sorrowful, in pain. He's not in pain. He's happy. He's so energetic. He just looks pathetic right now because he ate half of a metal hairbrush. He pulled out the teeth. I can't find them. They're somewhere in the house or in his body. And he hasn't been touching his food since he ate the brush. So I got to bring a dog to the vet tomorrow, and I'm probably going to have him opened up and get metal teeth from a hairbrush extracted. I don't understand. This dog survives so much. Brownies, Visine, eating everything that he's not supposed to eat. All the paper products in the world. You had to go and try metal, didn't you? Oh, I love him. I love him so much, but oh my gosh. The dog is trying to kill himself and me in the process. Oh, so it's always the Milo show. If you've been around here a while, you know it's always the Milo show. And I'll keep you guys informed. I'll let you guys know what happens here. And we'll go forward. Absolutely ridiculous. I want to kind of shift over a little bit into what I was going through directly after Brittany's passing and the 2 weeks that followed, and after her services. I was reading my notes, and oh my gosh, like, so for those of you that don't know, I journal, at least for 8 months after the passing. I was journaling my emotions and my thoughts and my feelings all on page. And it's a really good, it was a good exercise for me because I like to write. It's just part of my skill set. But, and one of the things that I captured was a couple weeks after my wife had passed, or actually not a couple weeks, about a week after Brittany's passing, I had our associate pastor and a friend of his, I guess. This individual was planting a church, and he shows up at the house. And they just wanted to come check on me. And the guy was having trouble writing papers. So I immediately went into writer mode and started, or not even writer mode, I went into teacher mode. For those of you that don't know, I taught writing at the college level for about 5 years, I want to say 4 or 5 years, somewhere in there. That was my life before Brittany, back when I lived in Louisiana. But nevertheless, so I was able to help this brother literally write this paper for seminary. And, and he was preparing to do his church plant and get involved in his local community and stuff like that and start up his church. And it was just really cool to be able to have a break, from my day to day, because it allowed me to engage with a skill set that fully took my brain away from the mourning and the pain and the suffering. And I think that's something really important, especially in the grieving process, is to have these moments of getting away from your grief, because you do need to breathe. You need to experience joy, because your life moves on. But after the services, I came home, and my parents stayed with me. They cleaned up a lot of things. They just did a lot of stuff, and they stayed the night. And the next morning, they asked me, are you do you want us to stay? And I told them no. I needed to grieve, and I didn't realize how important it was for me to be alone at the time. I think I needed to hit rock bottom. I needed to be alone in my own home, and they were okay with that. And they left me, and what followed was, I don't want to glorify grieving, right? But I threw things. I think I threw a chair halfway through the living room. I was careful not to use all my strength because I probably put it through a window. I cried, yelled, screamed, got out everything that I could in one fell swoop, and there was no end to it. It just kept coming. At one point, at one point, I was banging on a door. I smile when I say this because there was this very interesting moment. I was banging on my bathroom door, just realizing, oh, it felt kind of cathartic to hit the door. So I kept hitting the door with my fist, and then I leaned against the door and I hit the wall and went through the sheetrock. And immediately I realized I'm going to have to fix this. So it sort of cut the grieving short for a moment, and I could only just laugh because I realized that I've never been a person to physically get angry and punch a wall or to break something of someone else's. This was a new hat for me that I was trying on at the time for my therapist in the group. That's a phrase that my therapist uses. Trying on a new hat. You try on an emotion or an idea or a concept, and you sit in it for a little while and you see how it feels, and then you decide, yeah, this is me, or no, this is definitely not me. And when I put my fist through the wall, I realized this is definitely not me. I am not a person who uses physical violence on objects to express grief. That is not what I do. I've never done it in my life, and while I'm in the throes of agony and in sadness, I tried it, and no, no. So what followed was me figuring out how to patch a hole in a wall for the next couple of days. I've done it before, but it was just an odd sense of humor and something so dark and so dramatic. But yeah. It was odd, but I think the whole point was it was important that yes, in the grief process, you're going to want to be alone, and it's good to have people around. It's good to have someone, a support structure to pull you out, because believe me, my friends over when Brittany passed away and the 2 weeks that followed, leading up to her memorial services, which, by the way, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the chair throwing incident happened directly after Brittany passed. The day she passed was the day I threw the chair. The day of the services was the day that I put a hole in the wall. We have to separate those two moments. I think I might have confused you a little bit there, but I apologize. The point is, all throughout this process, after Brittany had passed away, I was getting moments alone to grieve and cry and scream and holler. And every day or two, I had a friend call me, "Hey, I'm going here. You want to get out of the house? You want to come with me?" And I want to encourage you, if you know someone who's going through something with grief, don't start the sentence, "Do you want to?" Say, "I'm going out. You're coming with me." And, "Hey, I'm just going to the store. You're coming with me. Get dressed. I'm going to be by to pick you up in a little bit." It's rude. Yeah, it's rude. And the person will say, or the person may say, "No, I'm going to stay here for the time being." But my friends doing that, getting me out, forcing me, constantly staying on me to, every day or so, every couple of days, "Hey, no, you're grieving. You need a break. You're coming with me." And by them posing it as a statement rather than a question, it made me realize that I was wanted and loved and cared about. And it was just enough of a shock to pull me out and for me to go, "You know what? Yeah, I need to go get some eggs." Or, yeah, okay, I'll come with you. I'll walk around. I need to get out the house for a bit. This will do me some good. Whereas if they had asked me, hey, do you want to come to the store with me to get out the house for a little while? My answer always would have been no. And I think that's important. It's important for those of us who have friends who are grieving, who are going through problems and suffering. But it's also important for those who are grieving. If you are suffering this way, if you are going through this pain, you need a break. Like, it's good to grieve. It's good to cry. It's good to scream. It's good to cry your heart out and pull from the well of grief that is endless, because it is endless. It never goes away. In those intense moments, that grief is there and it ain't going anywhere. And it is a never ending. It's not a lake. It's an ocean. I'm quoting a video game for those of you that don't know. Sorry, I digress. But having those escapes is important, to give yourself a breather, to come up for air. You can go back to grieving tonight. So one of the things that you'll hear me talk about is my schedule. I got on a schedule, and a very regimented schedule. Obviously, I was going back to, after the 2 weeks, after the 2 weeks after she had passed in her services, I went back to work. So I would be at work all day. And even if I wasn't at work all day, I had people that were constantly checking in on me. But after I went to work, I had a very tight schedule. Monday, I would come home, I'd work on videos. Tuesday, I'd come home, I could grieve and, kind of clean up the house a little bit. Wednesday, come home, head out to game night with a friend of mine, come home. Thursday, every other Thursday, occasionally, I'd go out on the town, hit up we have this place, this local pizza joint that has live music every Thursday. So I'd go out there, and it was, just nice to kind of get out. Friday, every other Friday, I would have D&D, where I'd get a group of people together. I started back very quickly, forced myself to be engaged over and over again. Saturday, I had time to either work on videos, clean up the house, or mope, grieve, whatever. Lay on the couch for 8 hours and do nothing. I had the option. And that'd be a Saturday. And then Sunday, I'd go to church and I'd make sure I engaged and made sure that I was keeping myself going. I've got myself a tradition now every Sunday. In about 3 hours after church, I immediately go out and I go get sushi. Yes, I sit by myself at the bar, and I just get myself some sushi and I just hang out and I eat sushi, and then I come home and then I figure out what I'm doing for the rest of the day. And the week repeats. Having that schedule was so important to me, and it still is. Here I am 8 months out. I'm still important that I have that schedule. I realize that this video has been pretty scattered and kind of all over the place, and I apologize for that. As we go forward, it's going to be a little more like, hey, from this date to this date, this kind of happened. But I think just getting kind of this stuff out and laying some of the groundwork is going to help us moving forward. So yeah, that was some of my immediate, the 2 weeks following Brittany's passing, and some of the immediate time directly afterwards. So yeah. And one of the questions that I've gotten, and it's an important question, is, do I have any video from the memorial service? And the answer is no, I don't. As you may have noticed, I was not nearly as diligent with videoing as Brittany was. She would be suffering and remember, I got to capture this on film, and pull up that phone and start videoing. it was a little frustrating at me at times, but I'm glad she did. But I don't operate that way. I'm really in my grief, and I'm really in my emotions, and I think that I don't know. It was good for me to do that. But no, I don't have any footage of the services. All I can say was that I was very thankful for my pastor, because I had this idea that it was just going to be, very informal, people coming and going, that kind of thing. And my pastor came over the day before the memorial service, sat down with me and said, like, we need to, like, he's like, I want to very softly push back, Darren. I know you want it to be informal, and I know you have this idea, but there's a fine line between informal and chaos. And I was just like, yeah, you're right. What do you suggest? And what followed, he kind of set up a small structure. It was very, like, we could be informal, but it had to be within structure, and it had to be like, there had to be a beginning, a middle, and an end kind of thing. And it was important, and I was appreciative of him. I provided some pictures. He put together a slideshow. I provided the urn, which I have yet to really talk about. I think her her urn. It came with a picture, which is it's of her holding a camera, and it's one of the most important ways that I remember her as being a business owner, a photographer, and my wife. And I think that this does honor to all of that. So I like this photo, even if it is not the best photo ever. There are others, but it's one that matters to me. So, and yeah, we got a few things there. But anyway, I provided the urn for the memorial service, and him and his wife took some of those photos for a slideshow and took them and blew them up and had them, in pictures and put them in picture frames and had them on, on the, the table where we had the services. And they took care of me. I was in no place, no way, shape, or form prepared to have a memorial service for my wife. And he knew what to do and was able to make it better, make it good. You'll hear me talk about having a community of believers and having a church and having friends to be able to pull you out of your feelings and stuff like that. But it really is like, when you're grieving and when you are going through stuff, if you don't have a church, or if you don't have family, you need a group of people who's going to be able to help you. Friends, family, church members. You need a group, because it's not that it makes things easier, because there is no easy when it comes to this, but they can provide breathing room. They can provide distraction. They can provide so much that you are in need of, and you don't even realize it. So, once again, talking to my people going through grief, get you a family member, get you some peeps. Talking to my audience who knows someone who's going through something in grieving the loss of a loved one, whether it's for cancer or anything, be forceful. Be there for them. Make yourself annoyingly present. You have no idea how much they're going to need you. And they have no idea how much they're going to need you. Show up. Show up with stuff. Leave stuff on their doorstep. Paper plates. Oh my gosh, dishes. Dishes are terrible. Any way that I can do to not have to wash dishes, paper plates, paper bowls, forks, knives, spoons, all of it disposable. So helpful. Immensely helpful. Anyway, it's about time for me to start getting ready for church. So I've got that to go to. And I got some sushi that'll be waiting for me in a couple hours. So I'll be going to do that. But yeah, so that's what my first 2 weeks and a little bit following was like after Brittany passed. So yeah. So weird doing this without her. Sure, I've done a few. I've sat here and talked, but this is the first one that I've actually done for me. It don't feel right, but it is what it is, and we'll keep going forward. So that being said, you guys know, if you guys have been following along, you know what I say. Myers out.